And we're live. Welcome, John Tabone. Is that how you say it?
Tabone, yeah.
Tabone. Okay, I got it right. And John is the co-owner and executive chef at Bar Pazzo, a fantastic restaurant in downtown Scranton, Pennsylvania. And I'm very honored for you to be part of the show tonight. So thank you for, first and foremost for doing this with me.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure.
And well, cheers.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Yeah, cheers.
I wasn't going to drink tonight, but I mean, I felt like it would be disrespectful to you. And we'll get
A little vino. A little vino. Why not?
I'll explain why that I said that a little bit later on, because I found out a little bit of tidbit of information about you yesterday or today that I had to look up because I was unfamiliar with the term. But we'll get into that. But so what's going on?
Sure.
You're in the restaurant. I see it.
Yeah. We're low key. I got Keith up here. Keith Perks helping me on the tech end of things.
Good guy.
Right now, great guy to have.
Yeah.
Right now, we're Wednesday through Saturday for service. So it's the first time in my tenure of cooking that I've had 3 days off in a row. Well, 3 days off from cooking. So it's a little bit different, but I think a lot of people have a lot of different things going on post-pandemic, especially in the restaurant industry for sure.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to kind of start from the beginning of your time in the restaurant business to now. But I feel like we should probably just get into, the current stage of Bar Pazzo. I mean, we're like, what, 15 months?
Just about, yeah.
Pandemic. So obviously restaurants suffered greatly during the pandemic. We're finally seeing a light at the end of the tunnel, but with that, you're facing new challenges that I'm sure you probably never thought you'd face, and that being, finding it difficult to hire new people, which enables you to fully function your restaurant and bar and allow you to be open 6 or 7 days a week. And now you just said that you're operating from Wednesday to Saturday. So I mean, talk a little bit of talk about the whole thing.
Like I was saying, so we're right now Wednesday through Saturday, dinner only, 4 to 9, and then Friday and Saturday 4 until 10. So it's like a skeleton schedule based on where we were at prior. We were initially 7 days here. Once we got up and running and worked the kinks out, we were, Monday through Friday, lunch and dinner, and not even closing in between, like 11 in the morning, right till 10 at night. And this is a unique place based on the concept and also the location. So with that being said, you always had business at 11 a.m. and you always have business until 10 p.m. It's one of those, we're the type of neighborhood restaurant where people are calling for takeout early. They're thinking about what they're having for lunch at already, say, 10:30 in the morning. So my point is it's busy. From that Monday and through Friday, 11 in the morning till 10 at night, and then Friday and Saturday staying open till 11, trying to capture, maybe people that are getting out of a show or something like that. Or, we have 40 some, I believe it is, apartments above us.
Wow.
Like to utilize the restaurant for takeout. Then we added Saturday dinners, which was 4 to close. And then we started to add Sunday brunch, which was 11 to 3. So that was where the work week was. I mean, it's a beast to fill that schedule from a standpoint of not only cooks, but, front of the house service staff as well. So that's where we were kind of, humming. We had a lot of momentum. And then once the shutdown happened, boom, it's not the type of place where you could just come in and, like, I could come in with, say, one of my kids and just make pizzas. It's not, and I would get text messages or emails all the time, like, when are you guys going to open for takeout? It takes a lot to open Bar Pazzo. I mean, we have a wood-fired oven to maintain, which is not a one-man operation. Obviously, if you're going to open for takeout, you need somebody on the phones all the time. You need people running food to the curb. You need someone for packaging. You need someone ringing in orders. So when we finally got open for takeout, it was like a 7-person team to make that happen. So, then, we were shut down like cold without anything for, I believe, it felt like 3 months, maybe more realistically, 2.5 months. And then once we got, that PPP money, we were able to staff a takeout team, and then starting to, gradually, learn the new ways. And yet, there's no rule book for it, so you're just learning as you go. And it was all the restaurants downtown as well. Like some of the restaurants didn't close; they just kind of powered through because of the nature of their concept. But this concept, it couldn't just be me standing in here doing takeout. It was a full functional team, both front and back, to organize a system to be able to service the takeout the right way, properly. Then the timeline, we were able to reopen. I think it was 50%, then it was back to 25%, and it was shut down again for a little bit around the holidays. So it's been, a lot of speed bumps. But we're navigating it, taking it day to day and trying to figure it out. But yeah, to the new challenges now, that it seems like, the more people that are vaccinated, the more people are coming out, more normal it feels. Bar Pazzo, so depressed for such a long time. It just felt like not the same. We're such a fun, energetic, it's loud in here. There's a lot of people in here having fun, waiting for tables, interacting with each other. And then boom, you're 25%. It's like a ghost town in here. It just felt so different. But we're starting to feel normal again. And to answer your question, yeah, there's a lot of new challenges with, the labor shortage being the number one challenge. And I think that's all industries, to be honest. I mean, when's the last time you walked into, a grocery store or a wine store, or even, random billboards? It seems like maybe I'm just more aware of it, but it just seems like everybody's asking for help, like looking for help. And, there's a lot of things that play into that for sure.
Yeah, everyone. It literally everywhere is asking for help, and it's. I was at the Pittston Diner for like a like a brunch type thing with my wife and my son, and on a Sunday. And first of all, we waited for a while, which is fine. I mean, I used to work in a restaurant. I get it.
Yeah.
I'm in the service industry to an extent, not serving food, but I've been in sales for a long time and things like that. So, um, it. So we waited a while. We finally sat down, and the service wasn't terrible, just very slow. And the guy said, like, "There's only two of us on, so please be patient."
Yeah.
Which is, I get it. I get it, man. I'm not here to bust his balls by any means, but it almost was at the point where it wasn't worth being out eating out because of just how long it took for everything, which is sad.
Yeah. I mean, that's the challenge for operators, is where's the line drawn? Like, where do you start sacrificing standards in your product just to be open?
Right.
Like right now, for example, we would normally have our outside dining set up already for probably 5-6 weeks, and we can't set it up, can't service it, which is, it's a shame, because, that's a fun section for not only someone to work it, but obviously people that, they love sitting out there and, especially on a nice summer day, sipping on a nice glass of rosé, having a margarita pizza. It's a cool spot. But
Yeah.
For me to open that, I'm not doing the business any kind of justice, just because we're not going to be able to service it the way we normally would service it. So it's not even worth sacrificing standards of, our systems or our products. So that's been the biggest challenge. Also, there's some nights where you have to control reservations, where you can only seat so many in a certain amount of time, because I don't want someone to come in here and have the experience of a subpar, mediocre experience.
Right.
We at Bar Pazzo have such a strong commitment to service that's so important in this industry. The food is the food, great, but yourself, you're going to go where you feel very welcome, and the hospitality is great. They're the places you're going to go back to, and that's the mission statement here. So it's been a challenge, but there's a lot there's a lot that plays into that. The COVID definitely made people think differently. I know 3 chefs right now that are super talented, can definitely run their own kitchens at any level. And these 3 individuals are now not even in the industry. They took that time off and maybe explored a college degree that they didn't finish, or, looked into something else, switch career paths.
Yeah.
So, that's just one example, and same thing with front of the house servers. Maybe they decided, to look into something else or move to a different area. Everybody's different, so, but the climate right now is we're just kind of waiting. We're waiting for, we had a job fair. We're kind of waiting for a couple new people to get up to speed and kind of, like I said, it's a day-to-day thing, and we're here. We're doing it. We're giving it our all. So,
was there ever a moment during the past 15 months where you thought yourself like, hey, maybe this is never going to turn around, and maybe I'll never be able to open that restaurant again, or maybe I won't be able to, be as passionate and about it again, and have the same experiences you built everything on? Like, I mean, what was going through your head
yeah,
the whole time?
no, honestly, for sure. At this point in my life, I feel with the experiences that I have under my belt, like you feel like, all right, you just can kind of make the adjustments, where you could say, like, maybe take a step back from the emotion. But yeah, when something like that happens, I mean, and you're constantly watching the news, and you're trying to navigate, that your next move. Yeah, it does enter your mind, like, or what's going to be next. And then when you do come back, and you're like putting craft food in a box, and it's like, wait a minute, I didn't fucking sign up.
This just doesn't belong here. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, like this is I'm not, my, you want to say passion, but this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. But you do what you have to do, just to kind of, like I said, take a step back, try to not get as emotional, and just kind of see how it plays out. And we're pretty fortunate here. We have we have 5 years under our belt, so we have a great following. We have great clientele here. We're in a great situation with a great landlord. So could we kind of work together to see it through a little bit, which is important. A lot of restaurants that didn't have that support aren't here now, and I'm in restaurants that you would never see, advertising for, line cooks or, sommelier, now are advertising for that, which is kind of like, makes you wonder what direction we're going in the industry. Right. For sure. There's some unknown out there, for sure.
And I feel like Bar Pazzo you said you're just celebrated 5 years, but I feel like right before the pandemic, and I feel like this happened with a lot of different people. I mean, it was definitely, I was getting ready for, my best year in my career at the time. I was planning for 2020 to be, my biggest year yet as far as the sales career goes. And with your neighbors down the street at Rock 107 and the Time Shamrock crew. But I feel like Bar Pazzo was kind of like at that level too. Like they were kind of like, the name was out there more.
Yes.
I'm not sure. I think Keith has been with you guys for almost a year, maybe a little bit longer, but like, I just feel like Bar Pazzo was like full steam ahead and
full steam ahead and relevant, and always we're doing fun things, and
exactly,
just embracing the community, and yeah, and it was just like, here we are, and it boom, kicked off the ladder,
Yeah.
So now we're trying to, obviously you learn from different things, but slowly kind of get back to somewhat normal, and try to continue, try to maybe capture some of that momentum from 15 months ago and channel it, and we get some new people in, and that's a challenge here too. Like it's the type of restaurant where somebody new comes in, and it's not like they hit the ground running. I say it, there's 30 days minimum if they're focused, if they're ambitious and they have experience. It's about a 30-day window to get somebody ready to represent what we do.
Right.
Between learning the space, learning the wine, the food, the culture, the people, that takes about 30 days minimum.
Yeah.
So it's not something you just come in and be like, oh, I have experience. I know how to, oh, I know this computer system. And then you're waiting a table. That's not the case. And it's a misconception because in our industry, in the restaurant industry, there's a lot of discredit to, kind of what goes into some of the things that have to happen to make for a fulfilled dining experience, for sure.
Absolutely. There's a lot of knowledge, especially in a restaurant like yours. You're not just putting burgers together or flipping burgers on a grill.
No, there's so much, there's so much intricate, even some of the wording on the menu, it could be very foreign and intimidating.
Yeah,
I can't. The customer. So, if you don't, so if you come in and, you rip off a question to your server, they don't know, then you're like, what the hell's going on here? They don't have their act together. So
I'm the guy that goes, I'll have this.
Yeah. Is this good? Is this any good?
What's in this? I can't say it. What is it?
Yeah.
Oh man. But I mean, there's an old saying, only the strong survive, right? And I'm confident that, you or and your staff there are going to come through this. I mean, at this point you have to, you've come too far. At this point.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like at this point now we're just trying to, pick up the pieces a little bit and get a game plan together. And like I said, a day-to-day thing. And, we're lucky. I mean, we're open Wednesday through Saturday. It's hard to get a table in here, so, we're very fortunate, to have that kind of support system, within the community. So it's great. And, some of my staff that have been here since the beginning and some of the cooks that have been with me since like when we reopened, I mean, these are guys that could have jumped ship or could have went and, collected unemployment but no, they hung in there. And I have a good core of loyal Barpazo believers, if you will, that have really helped, pull this train down the tracks during these tough times. So.
Yeah. And let's talk about how this all started, because obviously you're not in business for 5 years and, still open through a pandemic because you're lucky. There's a lot that went into your life leading up to this moment. How did John Tabone, how did he start? How did you go from, I don't know, a kid in high school to an executive chef / co-owner of a restaurant like this? And I'm sure you've had a lot of stops along the way. I'm curious to hear those stories.
Well, the main thing is I feel is that I gravitated towards this because of my first job right out of high school. So I was going to food production and management classes that at the time I feel that's when like the whole Emeril Lagasse thing was going on. If you remember, like I think I'm a little bit older than you, but so we're talking early 90s, and Food Network was starting to be a thing, and it's obviously not what it is today. Food Network then was, cooking shows and, chefs that were teaching you technique. But that, was kind of intriguing. And, Emeril was kind of a polarizing figure. He kept you watching, right? So, decided, really didn't want to play sports after high school. Kind of, me and my brothers and sisters, we come, middle class family, and we always worked. So, it made sense to explore maybe a trade, So, kind of went down the road of taking some food production classes, hospitality classes, and that, to be honest with you, it was very confusing. Think about from a standpoint of maybe going to a trade school, like for example, to be an electrician. You never grew up being an electrician. It would probably confuse you, right? And that's kind of where I was, because culinary is there's such a French background with a lot of the fundamental terms that if I didn't, I'm growing up in Pittston, I never heard words like this. So, it just, more or less confused me. But I was, in the short of it, I was lucky to get in a position as they called it a culinary apprentice, but it was really a disguise for a dishwasher ad. So so I got the culinary apprentice / dishwasher position at Celestino's at the time. And we're talking 94, and Celestino's was probably the premier restaurant in Luzerne County at the time. They just recently remodeled. They committed to a chef. His name is Chef Zahner. They brought him from Sabre Room, which was another I guess, iconic destination restaurant in Wilkes-Barre down in the late 80s. So they had a commitment there to, commitment to the wine program, a commitment to service. I mean, they had people in tuxedos and DuPont, parking your car, and it was really something to be involved with something like that. And to see that, even from the standpoint of a dishwasher, just getting my foot in the door and seeing this is how a real restaurant operates, from the nuts and bolts, and just taking a step back and observing. And intriguingly was the teamwork aspect, growing up in sports and being involved with, team sports my whole life. There's something to be said for that accomplishment as a team. So I think gravitating towards that and seeing something like that do so well. And Celestino's was always getting written up for, great reviews. And at the time, I think Times Leader did this like unknown restaurant review, and they'd always get great reviews. It was nice to be part of something like that. So that's kind of my introduction to it, and then from there, just, continuing to, I'm a very self-motivated person, like I'm very judgmental of myself on a daily basis, and wanting to get better all the time. And really, in a professional kitchen, you're only as strong as your weakest link, so, be it, you don't want to be that, but you also want to help your fellow line mates out, and to be involved with something like that had that kind of a brigade type, we're rugged people and committed to doing this together as a team, gravitated towards that. And I was lucky to have Chef Zahner as he's certified executive chef. So there's a whole nother level there of his certifications that, really instilled for me right out of high school, these fundamentals, and would call you out if you didn't practice them. So that was such a good foundation for somebody who was just wanted to work hard and learn. So, and I feel very fortunate for that, especially the other teammates that we had there, that would really take the time and teach technique and teach it right, and now looking back on some of those things that we were doing back then, it's pretty ahead of its time for this area for sure.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the birth of it, that's the start of it. So
Was that where you kind of found a passion for it? It's like, this is what
exactly.
I want to do for forever.
And I mean, there's a lot of ways you can look at passion, but passion is desire, right? This uncontrollable desire, but it also taught you commitment, and sacrifice. Back then there was no pulling punches. I mean, there was no, obviously things changed a lot through the years in every industry, but I feel, we're talking 25 plus years ago, things were handled different in the kitchen, professionalism. And I'm not saying it wasn't professional, but just the way you talk to each other, the way you conducted yourself. Like it's hard. It was hardcore. Now, me as an owner, I let something rip out of my mouth. Guess what? This place gets shut down. So you got to be careful. The stuff that was allowed is not allowed. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like there's, you were called out. So I mean, that was learning the sacrifice. Nights, holidays, weekends. There's commitment there.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could be the best cook in the world, but if you don't have the mental toughness to deal with that, you're that's what I try to, with this, like the next generation going forward, and all the chefs are trying to do this. Is like, look at, this isn't the early 1990s. There has to be a quality of life. Like you need to have a life. Like back then, it was you wake up in the morning, you go to work. Like you're on the schedule from 10 in the morning till close. And that could mean midnight if it's a busy night. So
yeah,
there's you want to say, oh yeah, I come from a generation where we knew how to work, but that's not healthy.
No,
you're
right.
You have to, there's a reason why these adjustments are made for, and there's there has to be some sort of, there has to be some sort of not only integrity, but there has to be some sort of, I always say it's a marathon, it's not a race,
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I mean, you're from here, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I grew up in Pittston, Planet
Okay.
Pittston.
Now, did you go anywhere else
I
and
did. Well,
cook?
out of Celestino's um, is where I met my ex-wife. She was an intern there from the Culinary Institute, and she, came there to work for her. Yeah, the Culinary Institute of America does, I believe, it's a 6-month intern. So she came there, and I didn't know her, but there was a connection there as far as work ethic, and professional, and she went back to culinary. And then when her family decided to buy a local restaurant in the area, it was called Cafe Nino. Right, it's currently Isabella. So if you know, kind of adjacent to the Woodlands there.
Yeah.
Prior to Isabella, it was Kay Medici. So her family bought this Cafe Nino space and wanted to operate it as Kay Medici. And her relationship with me, she reached out to me and said, "Oh, do you want to cook here?" And I was on the fence with it because I was only 21. I was 21 years old. So, I was on the fence about, going to culinary. I wanted to go to the culinary. I had enough industry hours to go there. But sure enough, I ended up putting the culinary off. I figured I'll do a year here, bank some more money, and be able to, have a better situation when I do go up there. But that never happened. So Kay Medici lasted for, I believe it was 5 years at that location. And then, got to, make some great relationships with great people. And, but there was never anybody pushing me there. I was in charge. So I had to push myself. So she, being a culinary grad from the CIA, had all these Rubbermaid totes of all the textbooks, and she took amazing notes. So I inherited that, and I basically exhausted myself and read all of that and absorbed all of those notes and all of that culinary history, especially European food, and, Italian food, and French food, and and just trying to apply that to my day to day, and continue to push myself. And we're talking pre-high-speed internet too, so we're talking a lot of afternoons spent at Walden Books, reading cookbooks, and just being really obsessed with culinary art. And so our lease was up there. Decided to build a newer space, which is now Pazzo. So Pazzo 315 was formerly the new Kay Medici, right? So it's full circle. Sammy and Karine, who are the operators at Pazzo, or are my partners here. So Pazzo was bought by the Aglino family from Kay Medici. And at that point I went up to Boston for a year to cook. I wanted to kind of, see something outside the area. And at first I was thinking Chicago, and it was just a little bit too far. My first son was just born. So we went up there. I knew some people up there. And it was a very humbling experience, to be honest, because like I said, I was pretty much, I knew how to cook what I knew how to cook, but mostly self-taught, but had this, this education, like a self-taught education, CIA education under my belt. But prior to that, it was Celestino's and just basic fundamentals. So going to Boston was, it was a little bit humbling because, now you're in a big market. There's a lot of great, cooks, a lot of guys that, working hard is just, that's a given. Everybody's working hard, and a lot more competition, a lot more, better restaurants, more diverse restaurants. So yeah, it's just, it really puts it in perspective of like, oh, I might know how to make food taste good, but do I really know how to cook like this? And
Right.
forces you back to the drawing board. So yeah, if I didn't go up there, I probably wouldn't have been able to get through the Glen Mara job. I was at Glen Mara for 10 years when I came back. And I don't think I would have been able to manage that from not only a culinary standpoint, but a professional standpoint, because that's a different ballgame, like you have to wear a lot of different hats at a private club. You're involved with, you're very involved with the back end on the numbers part of things. You're doing you're doing a ton of banquets, weddings. I mean, you could social events, all this, that I had zero experience in, except for knowing how to make food taste good, a lot of ambition, and willing to learn as I go, and really, put my best foot forward and work as hard as I can. But that experience in Boston really prepped me for that position at Glenmora, because the cook up there in the restaurant I cooked at mostly the name was Grill 23 and Bar. It's in the Boston Back Bay section, and that restaurant has 2 kitchens, actually 3 kitchens, 2 floors of dining, and it's a machine. And to be on a station there, it's all out. You're dealing with numbers. You're doing maybe 450, 500 people on a Saturday night. So, getting through that experience and learning what I learned, working with some great people, hardworking people, and then coming back here and then taking the Glenmora job, and really helped me with being able mentally to have the mental toughness to figure things out.
Well, I always say good things happen in Boston. I'm a big Boston fan, big fan of the city.
Yeah, great city.
Yeah, I love it there. I love the Red Sox. I've missed my annual trip the last 2 years because of the COVID, and so I'm looking forward to get back. But that's cool. I mean, you moved out of the area, you kind of experienced some different things and saw a different perspective, so to speak. And then were you there and got a call from someone back home and said, "Hey, like we have a"?
Well, I think it was just having a young child up there, and being from there's. I mean, say what you want, but yourself. There's something nostalgic about this area, and going up there and trying to navigate. Where I was working not only there, but I was working in another kitchen. So pretty much no days off. Just the cost of living up there is brutal, especially when you're taking a newborn with you. So eventually it was just one of those things where I think the best decision was just to come back around family, not for financial reasons, things of that nature. And at the time, Chef Zahner, who we spoke about earlier, was on the committee to hire a chef at Glenmora. They were at a crossroads. They were thinking about, at the time, I think they were thinking about like subbing out their culinary program. That's because they were just having no luck with that program there. So he reached out to me and said, "Would you interview for this job?" And I said, "Yeah, why not? I'll interview for the job." At the time, I wasn't looking to jump back into something too crazy, but I know at the time I didn't really want to try to open up my own place. So I thought this might be something I could, do something like this for 2-3 years and get behind something and really be proud of something. And a lot of the clientele there were, customers that you get to know through the years at K. Medici, and even, at Celestino's, to be honest. So ended up taking the job and, ended up staying there 10 years, which is way past the country club chef lifespan. But you hit some roadblocks in life, and if you remember, I think it was 07 or 08, we were on gangbuster tear. I mean, the whole management team there, we were on a tear. We financially turned the club around, not only from the clubhouse standpoint, but from the golf course standpoint. Great professional mindset, great board of directors. And, I think it was like 07 or 08 when that whole economy thing, boom, it just, and then it just like set everybody back. Like, honestly, especially like food service, it put people back probably a couple of years, with, no one was given any raises. There was a freeze on all that kind of thing. And bonuses were kind of froze up, and, you were just holding on to your job at that point, from a standpoint of from food service. And clubs, I mean, that's even a whole nother layer when you're thinking of a private club. I mean, if you're going to cut back in your personal life, that's probably the first thing you're going to cut out if you're making ends meet, is in a luxury country club membership, if you know what I mean. So, so they were nervous at the time, and, all the department heads were a little bit nervous because of, we all had families, and you didn't know. There was a lot of unknown. But so yeah, I mean, coming when it brings us to, I think it was like 2014. Sammy Aguilino approached me, and he's like, "Hey, let's have a conversation." And he had this vision of having a restaurant in Scranton, and that's kind of the birth of our conversations between each other. It was kind of the birth of the Bar Pazzo concept. So, that's kind of where we're at. I mean, he had this vision of wood-fired ovens, and I don't know if you've ever been to Italy in New York City. It's a whole mecca for Italian food. So he kind of wanted to go there and sit down and soak it all in. And like, all right, we could do something special in Scranton. Sam's philosophy was, Scranton's the closest thing we have to a big market here. We both have families, very community driven. Scranton is, people from Scranton really love being from Scranton. But we also understood the last thing this area needs is another Italian American restaurant, right? I didn't want to be involved in something like that, and going the back and forths and trying to figure out what our concept was going to be. For me, I wanted to be, I wanted to have that creative outlet to do my food. I understood what it was like to cook for country club members, and if you really think about a country club restaurant, that's basically an extension of their home. So my point is, you're not going to really experiment your culinary talents on country club members that are just going there because they know it's maybe meatloaf night.
Sure.
You know what I'm trying to say.
Yep, absolutely.
And so I didn't want it to be something like that, but I also didn't want it to be, something like a cookie cutter. Here's our chicken marsala, and here's our. There's nothing wrong with that, but like a cookie cutter type Italian American restaurant, and there's nothing wrong with that. People love that in this area, but I didn't want to get behind something like that. I wanted to do something different. And that's when we decided to think about the wood-fired ovens. That's when you think about putting a business plan together, like what's the focal point? What's going to make people really want to come there? Like what's going to be different? What's special, right? So that was one of the things that we wanted to really focus on, was having wood-fired ovens from Italy. Another thing was the gelato program, buying the equipment to make our own gelato. No one's really doing that in Scranton. Having an all 100% Italian wine list with organic wines and winemakers that we know these people, having relationships with them. So we thought we could take those three things and really formulate a business plan. And then, creating something from a standpoint of, all right, we want to service all walks of life. And I'm so proud of that we've created that, because to me, that's the most important thing. To have somebody come in with their 85-year-old grandmother for her birthday, and then the next night you have in the same room, you have a sweet 16, and then next week you have a group of, maybe 12 guys are on their way out to have a bachelor party. Like, people like coming here. There's no discrimination. We certainly have captured a restaurant where you could come in here in a suit, drink a bottle of Amarone. You could come here after yoga, sweaty, baseball hat, eat a pizza at the bar. So, that was the most important thing for me, to be able to have a place where all my friends could come and enjoy it. An exciting atmosphere. That's what I was saying before. When coming back out of the pandemic, it was just so depressed, like I didn't want to be in the building. Oh man, it was just, to know what it was, and then to come in here and, people are masked up and who's, just spread out, and, there was so much unknown, and there still really is, but there's just, so everybody was a nervous wreck, and it's like, well, why am I even doing this? Like you said, you question it,
Yeah, I mean, I working in sales and working in media with Weekender back in the day, and then for the radio stations, I got to work with a lot of restaurant owners, and Vinny at the V Spot was one of them. And I don't know if you know Vinny or not, but he's always like the glass is half full kind of guy, and like he's never like down and out ever, ever, ever. And he's said the same thing you're saying. Like he just like the V Spot, it's a beer drinking, shot drinking rock
Yeah,
club,
rock club. Yeah,
and he's just like he was like a shell of himself. Like I didn't know that person, and it's really interesting to think about the mental health issues that this has caused, business owners and restaurant owners and bar owners. And like and we kind of touched on it, just like you're in a place that you don't even know anymore, a place that you spent 5 years at, a space that you love, and it's just different. It's it's wild.
yeah. It's not. Well, it's getting better, but it's
Yes.
definitely not different for the better. It's. But we're getting there. We're certainly getting there. So, yeah, that's kind of the Cliff Notes version, of how I got to where I am. But it's just, it's been a blur these 5 years at Bar Pazzo, to be honest. Like a lot of people, a lot of great people have come and gone, and a lot of built a great clientele, and countless events, but I feel like we're in the right direction now, though. So no,
Yeah, I feel like we just came kind of full circle here. That's kind of what I wanted to do. But talk a little bit about, I mean, Bar Pazzo is not just a place where people come to eat. I think you're doing different events. I think you do like a third Thursday event
yeah,
with
and that
different
was that.
menus and
Sure. So that was kind of like I don't know, like what, after spending 10 years in a club, you're always trying to think of things to do to drum up more business with the same people, right? You got you get 500 members, and that's all you have. So you're always trying to, reinvent things, if you will. So I kind of applied that mindset here, like, all right, let's do a pop up here in our own restaurant, every third Thursday, and let's turn the place into something completely different. The music's different, the uniforms are different, obviously the menu's different, because that's the stuff I did there that the public never got to see. So started doing a couple of those, and it built some momentum, and it turns out the staff loves it. The cooks don't love it as much, because they're trying to think about what I'm thinking about in one day, but I'd like to get back to doing those. I mean, we haven't really pulled the plug on anything like that. I feel like we're still a couple months away from, trying to, because there's a lot of work that goes into it, and it's not even that much of a moneymaker. Like by the time you switch your whole system, like the one we did, I mean, we did countless third Thursdays, but the one, for example, we turned it into, I don't know if you remember a restaurant in Pittston called the Nook, right? This is going back and
heard
of it, right? Because it's not even there. It's probably knocked down now. We're talking in like the probably 70s, right? So I managed to get my hands on an old menu from the Nook, and I said, I'm going to reinvent the Nook, which was basically a fish house. So we were doing like, Cajun fish and steamed clams and oysters in the half shells. So bringing all that inventory in, it was a sellout. It was completely a success. And then a couple of the other ones, some of the ones that really take off are the pop culture ones. Like we did the Trailer Park Boys.
Mhm.
We turned the restaurant into like I don't know, we're like with the characters, like, the garbage food and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We did a diner night, based on pop culture that have like actors. And so try to get creative, with things like that. So there are some of the things we were doing. Also, like some fun wine dinners, for people that enjoy that kind of thing. The brunches were fun. Obviously First Fridays, try to support the local music scene by getting, some performers in here. Growing up, I grew up in a family of, musicians. My sister was a singer for a lot of years. My dad was a drummer from the old days. My, both brothers drum. So, I was probably at a lot of the same shows you were at through the years.
Probably.
Yeah. So, a vast appreciation for music. So I'm friends with a lot of these guys. So, try to, support them as well. So, yeah, I think we're in the right direction now. I think we're going to, start getting back to some of that stuff. So, I think the community is looking for it too.
And I'd have to assume that that would probably gain a lot of you said it wasn't a big money maker, but I would have to assume that's probably a way to at least get the interest of new customers by doing those
Yes.
things, right?
Yes. It keeps you relevant. keep it, for me, that's the most important thing. I like to step outside my comfort zone every once in a while. I mean, and then that's how I've always been, and force myself to learn different cuisines or learn different techniques and really love doing that. It's like my favorite thing. So it's more about that. It's more about, all right, look at Barpazzo's doing something really different. It's exciting, turn the whole restaurant into whatever, just, change the music, change the decor, change the uniforms, like a food truck night. We did, but for me personally, it always has to be about the food. Like there's a lot of gimmicks you could do, but for me, I've always keep the food as the number one focus. So, we're doing, diner night, it's going to be about the food. We're doing, we did a baseball theme night. It was all about, I think we showcased 12 different major league stadiums and what they're known for, and try to replicate those like ballpark food.
Right.
The church bazaar one was just insane. I mean, I must have made 500 pierogies and I sold them out by 7 o'clock.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, so, it's, it's the things like that, like you're saying, like to keep it relevant, keep it fun. And like you said, if someone's going to notice that, maybe show up and I'm like, oh, I have to come back here on a normal night.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it certainly has its benefits.
And you were saying that it's people that come in suits and people that come in before shows, and I cover two of those bases. I had lunch at your place during the work hours, and I was in a suit and tie. I was at your place when I was going to a Menzinger show for the holiday show they used to do up at the Cultural Center.
Yeah.
And one thing I noticed when I was there were the pizza ovens, and I have to believe that those things that you don't just walk into Lowe's or a Restaurant Depot and say, I want that. So I mean, what's the story behind those?
Yeah, so I mean that was the concept. We really wanted to have that to be the centerpiece. And Barpazzo is actually 2 spaces. Like if you see here these columns here, there's 9 of them. So when we were trying to draw out the place, I remember we're trying to draw out just one space. Just couldn't figure it out. Because this building is obviously really old. The dynamic of it, where the electrical is, all the mechanicals, you're at the mercy of that when you're drawing out a restaurant. You have to kind of, figure that out first before you start putting things. So initially, I remember we were trying to go along this wall for the bar, and so. But anyway, the pizza ovens ended up back here. I don't know if you can see, kind of see a little bit where the lights are, but so that was a whole production that thing. So these ovens are manufactured in Italy. And then they're brought to San Francisco. And there's a company called Artisanal Pizza Solutions who we were dealing with, who at that point turns them into what you want. You could pick the style of oven. This is a Mugliani oven. So this is more of a, so these ovens are geared for Neapolitan pizza, right? So the Mugliani has a little bit of a higher roof, all right? So it gives you a little bit more, I guess, freedom to make maybe different styles of pizza. It's not just, you're not just one and done with like true Neapolitan pizza, because I don't know if you ever had true Neapolitan pizza, but we felt that wasn't going to fly here, right? A true Neapolitan pizza is, 100% double O flour, San Marzano tomato, mozzarella di bufala, and basil, olive oil, that's it. But it's cooked at 900 degrees. And the end result is just super puffy, light, soft pizza. And in Naples, it's very rarely even cut. It's eaten like by pieces and you just pick it up. Coming from, Pittston and knowing the pizza, I mean, no one has more pizza than us, right?
Right.
So, well, how do we take that and make it a Neo-inspired pizza, but put like a little bit more of a swing on it? So the Mugliani oven is one of those ovens that enables you to maybe burn at a lower temperature and create a slightly crispier crust, and the cheese is slightly more melted, make it more of an NEPA-friendly Neapolitan-inspired pizza. So that's the oven we went with. The company tiles it, makes it your own. So we wanted the fire engine red tile, the Barpazzo logo. They're loaded up on a tractor trailer, and they're taking it across the country via 18-wheeler. And that was a big day here for us when they shut down the streets, and here comes these ovens coming in.
Damn.
Yeah, and a team of people waiting, and the forklifts waiting, and they were in here before anything else. I mean, to take those out here now, it'd be some massive destruction. It would crush the floor, and you'd have to take out some of these bars to get it out. So yeah, big time. And then the chimney up the side of the building was a whole nother story. But
right,
yeah.
It's
so
wild.
Yeah, it's wild. It's a pretty cool story for sure.
Well, Bar Pazzo must live on. We can't be without Bar Pazzo. I mean, that's
I'm not gonna let that happen.
Good. Yeah, my wife raised about your place. Like, she was just there maybe a month ago. She said the pistachio gelato was the best she's ever had.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, cooking Italian food to me it's come so natural, and it's so romantic. Everybody, I mean, how do you not like Italian food, right? If it's done properly,
Absolutely.
And yeah, we might have a lot of things on the menu you don't understand. However, you could come here and you could get a margarita pizza, which everybody understands.
Right.
You could also get a pistachio gelato, which everybody understands. You leave a happy person. So, we're trying to find that niche. For me, I like to get, early season, late season menu changes and try to plug in 4 or 5 things that keeps everything fresh and exciting. But we also have our signature dishes here that have been here since the beginning that, man, they sell like crazy. Our Spanish octopus, honey whipped ricotta, obviously some of the pizzas, so, it's nice to be able to create that and have, that foundation.
Right. And I can't let you go before discussing, I see on social media, at least, cooking classes that you do.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, actually.
So talk a little bit about that, but is that something that kind of came as a result of the pandemic, so that way you could,
Actually, no. Like
okay.
I was just talking to my brother about this too, that, I should have been more, I wasn't there. My mindset wasn't there during the pandemic. I feel like the excitement wasn't there, but that's the time to be. I should have been doing those kind of Zoom classes, but it just wasn't meant to be. However, back at Glenmora, because of the nature of a private club, it's very seasonal. There's a lot of seasonality that goes to it. So you're doing a year's worth of business from Easter until Halloween, all right? And you're packing it in there. You're working 9 a.m. until close, 6 days a week, and whatever other stuff they could throw at you, Monday tournaments or whatever. But it allows you to reboot in November, December, January, February, kind of March. You're kind of being a father again. You're being a husband again, significant, whatever. You're getting back on track a little bit. So during those months, those shoulder months, I thought, I could do some side hustle here, and I thought, do some in-home cooking classes. It took off. It was a lot of work, but it took off. I was kind of roughing it. I was loading stuff up in my truck and taking it to somebody's house and teaching them, they got to pick online what they wanted to learn. And, you come there with the whole deal, the food, the pots, the pans. So when Bar Pazzo came along, I thought, I love that so much. It was so fun. For me, teaching not only here at the restaurant, but teaching, just the residential cook is, so much fun. So, I started to do them here on Sunday nights after brunch, and it took off, especially the pasta classes, because it's something you could do with a family member, significant other, father, daughter, whatever. And I would get groups, and people made a night out of it, and we made pasta together, and learn maybe a little bit about some sauces and stuffed pastas, gnocchis, all scratch made. And it's basically a 4-hour commitment, but I mean, you leave here, you know how to make pasta, 1000%. And the people that have taken the class, I'm still in touch with, and they'll send me pictures of what they make, or they'll post it online and tag me. And it's really cool. But since, pandemic, I've done some Zoom classes and things like that for friends. but I can't wait to get back into doing the in-person classes and having people here, because that's so much fun, and not just pasta. I mean, we're gonna think up some other things, and it's this time of year is a little bit rough because people are cooking out and vacations, but
Sure.
look for those. Look for those because I really enjoy it. It's a big part of what I do, and it allows me not only to maybe teach you something, but it's cool. You're in Bar Pazzo.
Yeah.
You're behind the scenes. You're using our equipment, and
Well, when you do the pasta one again, let me know. You have my number now.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
I love pasta. Like I'm a glutton. Uh,
yeah,
it's like it's disgusting how bad I am.
yeah.
But and I won't stop eating it. Like there'll be way too much for me to finish, but I do anyways because I'm disgusting. But yeah, I love it.
If it's good, just eat it.
I love
And
it.
then the next day, just don't eat the next day.
Well, I always say I'm like, this is not going to taste as good tomorrow. I gotta finish
Yeah.
it now.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure. That
Yeah,
would
the
be
cooking classes are great. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That's a lot of fun. Yeah, and we're actually going to be doing I don't know if this will air before then, but we're actually doing a Tuscan wine dinner on June 17th here, for Bar Pazzo, which I'm excited about. We're going to kind of reinvent Tuscany here a little bit, with not only the foods, but some of the wines that we're bringing in. So excited about that as well.
cool. And I mentioned the very beginning of the show, we were talking about wine. And I found out that you are the first level,
Yeah, yeah.
sommelier.
Sommelier. So yeah,
Sommelier.
so
I didn't know what that was. I'm like, what is this?
yeah, it's basically a credential you get for understanding not only wines but the practices of the grapes, the growing of the grapes, the culture and the history. And to me, that's so interesting. And I've actually, Matt, I took this long to do because I've always been, into wine. There's such a story behind it. It's not just what's in the bottle; it's how did it get there. And I went to Italy with Sam and Freddie Magnotta, who's our importer. I think it was 2016, like right after the restaurant opened, and it really made seeing that culture and being in those wineries and being in those fields and seeing the practices there's more to it than just having a glass of wine. Like there's so much that happens to get that product in the bottle and to get it here in the United States. It's just mind blowing sometimes. So I really gravitated towards that and wanted to learn as much as I possibly could. So it's become like my hobby too. Like to, all right, I'm going to create this, this rustic dish of, maybe it's a pate or something. Okay, what would pair with that perfectly? So it's just like a personal thing, and it's nice to have diverse wines here for our guests and organic wines. But yeah, for me, it's more of a hobby, and I love teaching the staff about it. And yeah, it's super cool. Think about, the wine's been with us since the beginning of time. If you really think about it.
Yeah. I have to admit, I'm more of a beer guy than I'm a wine guy, but
Yeah.
Again, I was excited. I was telling my wife, I'm like, hey, I'm talking to John Tabone tonight from Bar Pazzo. And she's like, oh my God, make sure you tell him, this, that, the other thing. I'm like, did you know that he's this, like, this in this word, sommelier? And she's like,
yeah.
I said, I don't know what that is. She's like, oh, that's what you just said. I'm like, how did you know this? But she's like, she likes wine.
Yeah. Cool. Bring her to one of the wine events that we do. Plan on doing some more of those, and not just exclusive sit down dinners, but like, just more casual, just having, maybe Freddie going around to the tables and, sampling wines. And we're going to bring wines. We used to do a wine sampler where you would be able to taste some of our wines at discounted price. So I think that's in the near future too, to start bringing back. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, it's certainly interesting for sure. And you think about, kings and queens and old world and, all these little, the history, about France and where it started. Italy, I could go on and on. Don't get me down these rabbit holes.
I would try to, but like I would be the worst person to talk to about that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to cut you off there.
Yeah. Let it be. Let it ride out.
No offense. Right. I should probably listen to you. I can learn a thing or two, but I'm probably the wrong person to talk to about that.
No, I'll ramble about anybody. So,
that's cool though. So, it's June, halfway, well, almost halfway through the year. We're just halfway through June. What if anything can people expect from Barpazo this year? Coming out of the pandemic, people are getting vaccinated, masks are being dropped, and I think we're going to open up either when uh, where the population is at 70% vaccinated or
Yeah.
June 28th, whatever comes first. Um, what are your plans this year for Barpazo?
Well, my sh- my sh- my goals right now are short term.
Okay,
To be honest, my
that's
goals right
fair.
now, yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, my short term goals is let's get this place open to capacity.
Okay, fair enough.
Then once we could do that, let's add a service. Let's add a Tuesday night. So that's kind of the short term goals. In the long term, um, for me personally, internally, is to restructure our staff and make sure we have the right people that are committed to represent the mission. And from there, I'd like to continue to pick up the momentum from right prior to the pandemic that we had, which was we were on fire. We had a lot of momentum, and
Yep.
so that's the short term. Let's try to get back to where we were, and then from there, I'm always researching, and I'm always looking to do, stay on trend, and do my own thing as well. Continue to research and develop, and then put it through the vigorous process of all right menu development, and then maybe the customer gets that eventually. It's like it's all about the menu, John. It's like writing
Yeah.
a song. You gotta know what you're doing. So
Yeah, and speaking of that, thank you for doing this. My show is primarily focused on music. I built this platform to kind of highlight and allow people like you to talk about what
I
they're doing.
appreciate it.
People,
Yeah, I
people from
appreciate it.
yeah, thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a little out of my comfort zone. Like I said, I kind of stick to the music, but I definitely wanted to build this platform, to highlight the area and people doing great things. So, congrats on 5 years. I mean,
Thank you.
you had a year of hell to fulfill.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody did.
Yeah, but
Anybody in small business really did.
but yeah, best of luck. And I mean, where
Appreciate
can
it.
people find you online?
All right, so for the most part, we're not really doing Twitter yet, but we're on Instagram, Barpazo. My personal Instagram is Instinctive Cook. I post both on both of those. Facebook, Barpazo. I also have my own personal page, Instinctive Cook, on Facebook as well. So if you follow both of those, you'll be up to speed on anything and everything that we're doing here at the restaurant for sure.
Gotcha. And Barpazo is open currently Wednesday through Saturday,
Yes.
4 to 10.
4 to 10. I'm sorry, Wednesday through Thursday, 4 to 9.
Okay.
Friday and Saturday, 4 to 10. And right now it's primarily reservations. I mean, we won't turn you down if you walk in. However, expect, if you do come and, you might have to wait a minute or so, or, a brief small amount. We also have pizza bar seating that we do not take reservations for. So, and that's always a fun situation, especially if you have kids. They love sitting there. Now our bar's starting to gradually get open. So there's, for solo diners, it's a great place to kind of post up and have a bite to eat too. So yeah. So give us a call. And our private dining we're booking that out. It holds 12 to 14 people. So we're kind of booking that out, twice, sometimes 3 times a night. If the reservations, dictate that. So yeah, look for us on those platforms and check us out.
Very cool. Well, thanks again for doing this. Wish you nothing but the best of luck.
Johnny, thank you, my man.
And yeah, I'll talk to you soon. Okay.
All right. Yeah, you bet.
All right.
Appreciate
Thanks.
it. All right.
Yep.
See ya.
See ya.